Welcome back to On Football and a detailed performance review on the Nike Vapor Untouchable 3 Elite Football Cleats. Super long name. These are sent over by my partners from eastbay.com where you can get these cleats. Again, I'm going to include the link in the description, like all my videos of where you can purchase these if you can't wait for me to finish the review. But I'm going to give you guys the detailed review on this cleat. There's so much technology packed in here. Nike came up with a brand new Vapor cleat for us, and this is the Elite version, otherwise known as the Vapor Untouchable High Cleat. So let's start with some of the technology. Obviously, it's a high cleat. A lot of you guys out there have compared it to the highlights, and I will say the similarities probably end there, and it's really with the height of the cleat and maybe the weight. So the highlights are also a light cleat, and they're a high cleat. These are very light, and they're also pretty high. Now the difference really comes in the plate and the upper. Now it's no surprise that I'm a fan of the Vapor Untouchable plates. You guys know that this is my favorite plate in all of football. We're gonna get to that a little bit later, but they use carbon in the forefoot of the plate, and then they have just these four-sided studs that just work really well in a variety of surfaces. So it's one of my favorites. Now the differences, again, with the highlights, if we think about those, are gonna be in the upper. So this upper is a completely knit material. Everything from here down through here is a knit. It's almost like a ballistic nylon. Now, I took the cleat apart. I'm going to show you more on that later. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty of the cleat, but just know that this is a fly material. So you can see, still got stuff in here. You can see how flexible this is, but the ballistic nylon is very light and very protective. Now, I'm calling it ballistic nylon because that's what it feels like, even though it is a new type of fly knit that Nike has developed for this cleat. You also have fly wire in here, so it's the only cleat in the Vapor Untouchable line this year that actually uses fly wire. So these cables here are actually the fly wire that run through the cleat. So fly wire are cables that really give you that custom fit. Now that coupled with the fly knit is really going to give you that supreme fit that kind of molds to your foot. Now these run true to size. I wear size 12. These fit in a size 12. Just like most of Nike cleats, you're going to have to wear thicker socks. But these have super thick padding. I mentioned this in my first impression video. They've got the padding here high on the ankle. You can see just how thick this is. But then inside the cleat, they've also have thick padding right around the Achilles that really helps with a lot of heel lockdown. So I test that out. Your foot stays locked in. Now these have long laces for you to actually, untie and to get your foot in. Now this was a trick told me by one of my fans. Actually knotting these, you can see I tied a little knot in the cleat, actually prevents it from coming all the way out. So I used to kind of talk about how that was the bad thing about having such high cleats like on the highlights. But this is something where you can actually tie it and you never have to worry about coming out. So it's super easy to get your foot in once you unlace them. Once you make the little knot, you have so much room to get your foot in and then lace them back up without the laces ever coming out. So there is the overview. Now we're going to get into some of the details. Now I split up the details into 3 different categories. I'm going to talk about the things that you're really going to love about this cleat and who it's for. I'm going to talk about the things that you're going to like about the cleat. They're kind of on par with other cleats out there. And then last, I'm going to get to the trade-offs. Now these are the things that they're not necessarily the bad things about the cleat, but the things that you're going to have to accept if you choose to get this cleat. Everything is kind of a trade-off. So without further ado, let's get into the detailed review. Now you're probably wondering what the heck you just watched. Yes, I did cut a cleat in half. I wanted to show you guys kind of the inside of the cleat, and we're going to get to this when we talk about some of the details, but that's something I'm going to start doing, is taking apart the cleats, showing the cross section, breaking it completely down, and actually showing you guys what you're getting so I'm able to talk about the cleat better. There is so much to love about this cleat. The first thing we're going to get to is the actual weight of the cleat. Now they feel pretty light for what they are. When you think about a high, they're not the lightest cleat in the Vapor Untouchable line, but obviously they're a high. But fly knit is going to make it a little bit lighter. Now these weigh in at about 13 ounces for a size 12. So all the cleats I wear are about a size 12, that fit true to size. And so these weigh in about 13 ounces. That's less than a quarter of a pound heavier than something like the Added Zeros, which are super light. So that's something that you're going to love about this high cleat that's going to be super light. Now I talked about the plate best in football, hands down. It's something that you're gonna love in the Vapor Untouchable line. I also touched on the padding, so now I'm gonna go back to the cross section of the cleat. When we think about the padding and the heel lock in the cleat, this right here, you can see just how thick this padding is. This is the padding that's gonna really be around your Achilles to give you that some of that comfort. But you can see the silhouette, it comes in and down and under. So this is where the heel of your foot comes in and really gonna lock your heel in. So from the outside, you can't really tell that you have that heel lock, but here you can tell that that heel counter is actually super padded on the inside and gonna give you a lot of that locked in feel that I talked about. So that's something that you're gonna love on the cleat. You can see through the cleat right here, and that's really going to help the breathability of the cleat. Now the whole thing is pretty porous. When you think about the tongue, you can almost see through it. You can't tell on camera, but it's really porous, so that's gonna allow the cleat to vent pretty well. When you have this nylon and this mesh, you see that they've strengthened it with a material on the inside, but it's still got venting all the way throughout. So you're really gonna love the breathability of this high cleat. Now again, comparing a little bit to the Under Armour highlights, that's not something that the highlights offer. Those got super sweaty, super hot, but it's a difference in material. So that fly knit, the fly wire, and then that mesh and venting is really gonna help with the breathability of the cleat. The last thing you're gonna love about this cleat is the feeling of being spatted. So if you are one of those players that likes to spat, that likes to take tape, wrap it around your cleats, or if you just like the look, you're gonna like this cleat. So this is designed with the actual colorway and the height of the cleat and the material. It's designed to both look and feel as if you're being spatted without the bulkiness of the spat and really with that custom fit. And that's what this does. The fly wire is actually gonna help to lock it in all the way around. So just like I said, there's a ton of things that you're gonna love about this cleat. Now we're gonna get onto the things that you're gonna like. Now the first thing that you're gonna like about this cleat is actually going to be the cushioning. It's a pretty well cushioned cleat. You can see the foam here that goes throughout the entire midsole of the cleat. So this is about 5 to 6 millimeters of foam at its thickest point. That's adequate cushioning. Now the good thing about it is you can actually change out the insole if you want. So this insole has Nike grip. This is Nike grip right here. They sell it in combination with some of their socks that are really going to allow your foot to stick and not give some of that movement. But if you do want a thicker insole or a thinner insole or just a more custom insole, you can actually take this out. Comes right out of the shoe, and you can slip in your own custom. So that's something, again, when you talk about the fit of the cleat, that you're gonna like this cushioning and the midsole of the cleat. Something that's kind of overlooked, but I really appreciate is how easy they are to put on. That really has to be taken into account. If you think about something like the Force Savages, which are meant for linemen, you know, they're also a higher cleat, and I talked about those, how they're easy to put on, but how the laces were long. These ones are the perfect length, and again, with the tip I talked about earlier, tying these, you're really gonna love the length of the laces. And again, it's something that's overlooked, but something that is a must-have, because you don't want to be tying these down, you don't want to be slipping them through some of the other laces, you don't want to be, the whole purpose of this cleat is to feel spatted, so you don't want to be spatting over the laces. So it looks like Nike actually took some care and they took some time and attention to the length of the cleat and making sure that it was easy to put on and gave you that proper length. And those are things that you'll like. Now, like I said, there's always a trade-off with every cleat that you get. There's some things that you're just gonna have to accept. And the first thing with this, right away, is gonna be the price. We all know that $200 is a lot to spend on a cleat. A lot of you guys are not used to spending that amount of money. If you play soccer, you may see some of the soccer cleats even retail for more than that, but $200 is a lot. And now with that, obviously you get a lot of technology, but that's a trade-off. If you want the technology with the fly knit, you want that carbon, you want the fly wire, you want the high, that's gonna be $200. So that's the first trade-off that you're gonna have to make. The other, just like a lot of cleats, not on this one, just because this doesn't have that type of plate, but if you get something like this colorway in the orange, this may not last. So you can see how shiny this is, how much this stands out. You know, obviously that wear and tear, if you chip it, is not going to look, you know, that same color after a while. The last thing that I'll leave you guys with, the trade-offs, is something that I mentioned in my first impression video. And that was the fear of getting this dirty. You can see I've used this only 2 games indoor in an indoor facility, so was not in the elements, and you can see some of the dirt on the cleat. Now I can only imagine playing outside in the dirt, like through a whole season, what this is going to look like afterward. So what I would suggest is definitely getting some shoe protectant that you can actually spray around it. That should help a little bit. But then also washing these cleats. Now, you know, I love to look clean, you know, look good, feel good, play good, you play good, they pay good, right? So this is something that you're definitely going to watch out for. I'm hoping that Nike releases a black colorway, maybe something like all black to kind of hide some of that dirt, but that is the last trade-off that you're going to have with this cleat. Now, I did mention in this video that if you're a player who likes to be spatted, that this is going to be a good cleat for your consideration. Now, you guys always ask me, okay, what specific positions is this good for? When I think about players who should be spatted or like to be spatted, if I had to name positions, I would give you quarterbacks, running backs, linebackers, strong safeties, tight ends, and D ends. Those are the ones that I really think about when I put this cleat on, what I felt like. Really some more of those power type players. When you think about power, this is something that you want. Power and speed, this is a cleat that you want. Different than the Force Savages. Force Savages are going to be for the line, OL and DL. This is for the power players that are all about speed. So that's the end of the review. Remember, I've included a link in the description of the video if you want to see where you can get these. If you liked this review, if you liked seeing the cross section of the cleat, I can do more of these. Definitely give me a thumbs up, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.